All right.
The amount of money wasted and time wasted by companies trying to figure out a growth strategy, and it's right under their nose. Like, you don't need to spend money on Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads. It is literally sitting in your lap, and you're just ignoring it.
Welcome to the show today. We have our wonderful guest, a good friend of mine who is a brilliant marketer, business strategist. Welcome to the show today, Tami Gaines. Tammy, you cut out this for a half a second there on my feed, so I'll just repeat what you said about people who are basically trying to grow their business, grow their clients, get more revenue, and always going out to looking for the new shiny thing, the new opportunity with marketing and ads and all that stuff. And what we're going to talk about today are three things where they can get as much business as they want, and it's right under their nose. Is that right?
Absolutely.
I am so excited. I have a clue on one or two of them, but I can't wait to hear all three. Before we do, I want to hear more about you. When we first met, man, that's a whole nother story. But I loved your background. So tell us a little bit of how you got into business and a little bit of your history.
Yeah, so I'll give you the sort of the quick and dirty. I started my first business when I was 11 years old. I have been a business owner my entire life. Uh, I, of course, I went to college, I went to Tufts, I came out, I went into advertising,
Mhm.
and then I wanted to be more strategic. So I moved over to, this is worth telling. I took a job at Colgate Palmolive,
Mhm.
answering the 800 number on the back of the toothpaste tube.
I want to hear some of those calls. Hey, my teeth are still yellow. What's going on?
Let me tell you something. That some woman called. She was like, "I spilled my Ajax in my greens. Are they safe to eat?" I was like, "No, ma'am. You need to throw those out." Uh, but yes, that was me. I was in a department with like 15 people that we all answered the phone.
Cool.
But guess what? It gave me amazing insight into customers
Mhm.
and the ideas that they can bring us and the information, the data. Like, that was the best job I ever had because it gave me a customer perspective, which I wouldn't have otherwise had. And I think a lot of people don't have.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, from there, I went back to Columbia Business School, majored in marketing and management. And then I went back to Colgate into their management training program. Yes, I did. It's a great company. I cycled through every department. So finance,
Mhm.
promotion, international business, um, also gave me a very holistic perspective on business and business growth.
Mhm.
Anyway, I had a couple of other jobs. I was director of US marketing for a 100-year-old company
Wow.
uh, that had gone public, and I did the rounds on Wall Street. That was my introduction to Wall Street, chatting up the stock. And then I became pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I quit working for the man, and I started my own consulting company.
Oh my gosh. So you, how old was your daughter when you started your company then?
Like 4 weeks old.
Oh, that's you have plenty of time, right? Easy
By
peasy.
the way, that's a whole nother story because I ended up suing those guys.
Wow. Okay.
When I got pregnant, yeah, like I said, that's a whole nother story. When I got
Yeah.
pregnant, they tried to fire me.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's crazy. So
it was a
yeah,
horrible
let's.
time.
I'm just curious about how you have. I mean, this is a whole mindset thing. We'll get into the three things in a moment, but I'm insanely curious about having a 4 week old and starting a business. How do you do that?
Um, there was two pieces. One is I was determined not to let those guys get away with what they
Right.
were trying to get away with.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is I'm an entrepreneur. I needed to make money. Like, I wasn't gonna sit at home and, like, no offense to my like
Yeah.
baby daughter, like, what are we gonna do all day? So um I started it I started it in bits and parts. Like, I tried to drill down on, like, what am I really good at? What problems do I solve better than anybody else?
Yeah.
So honestly, that was like a couple weeks of like reflection, and then it wasn't that hard. I made the call, by the way, which we're going to talk about. But I called somebody and said, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I started my own company, and they were like, "Oh, I got a project for you."
It was that simple.
It was that simple.
All right, so we're gonna get into the three ways to grow your business without even trying, apparently, or at least doing something untapped here. So, I mean, is it simple as picking up the phone and calling? I mean, tell me a little more depth on that one.
Yeah, so people look at a phone as like the elephant, like it's like a 1,000 pound elephant to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And people want to hide behind email marketing. They want to like do social posts. But the truth is, the phone is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make that first call, first of all, that's a big deal. Like just making the first call
Sure.
is a big deal. Who cares? And be detached from the outcome. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but I knew I had to
Right.
pick up the phone and call somebody to get
Mm-hmm.
some business. Otherwise, I was going to be broke.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think we need to stop being afraid of the phone and go back to old school.
Yeah. The only
Instagram,
challenge is
TikTok.
getting the number and having them pick up.
Yeah, exactly. Or I sent a text to somebody yesterday. I said, "Hey, I'm going to call you in 10 minutes. Are you around?"
Yep.
They said, "Yeah."
Yep.
So
Right.
I'm a fan of old school talking to people.
This is why we get along so well. I love it. Yeah. It's funny because yeah, you're right. People hide behind or have the fear of actually communicating with a human being with his email, branding, marketing, social stuff. Not that you don't do it. Obviously, we still do that stuff. It's important to have it. But my gosh, if you don't connect with somebody, either in person or on a phone call or having a, I guess the difference I draw a distinction between a monologue and a dialogue, and
Yeah.
sales 101, marketing 101. Um,
Doug, I do think you mentioned before, it's
uh,
like everyone's chasing that shiny object.
huh, yeah,
Funnels,
yeah, right.
Facebook ads, like
AI,
whatever.
yeah,
Everybody is like every day coming out with a new thing, a new thing.
yep,
It's the old thing that
yeah,
we need to go back to. We need to start with the old thing.
yep. We had Sherry went on yesterday, whom you know,
Yeah,
and
she's
she's an
awesome.
Olympic athlete, right? So we talked about the connections of you know every other discipline, whether it's sports or business, right? It goes back to the basics, and it's so boring for most entrepreneurs because we like chasing shiny objects because it's attractive. It's part of
Yeah.
our DNA. But gosh, if we actually just focus on the basics and we're patient with ourselves, it always works. It works in sports. It works in business. So
Worked in life.
yeah, right.
Like at the worst moment, if you think about the worst moments in recent history, whatever they are, the California wildfires
Yeah,
or
right.
the floods in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
that's people. That's the
Yeah,
people business.
yeah,
There's nobody doing advertising. They're getting out there, they're getting in the dirt, they're talking to people, figuring
yeah.
out like
Right.
I feel like that's what we've moved away from.
Yeah, we're so. And here's the biggest fallacy that you and I have talked about plenty of times, that we think that, oh, if I post something really interesting, it gets lots of views or likes. I mean, but do they hire you? It's
Is,
like
is that a win?
vanity metrics are such a it's such an, I don't know how to phrase it the right way. It's evil. It's really, it just appeals to the owner's ego, and it
Yeah,
makes you feel good to be, hey, I was on a podcast, I was on a live stream like this, I was.
yeah.
See, I'm not I'm agnostic here, but this vanity metrics of views and likes is really worthless when it comes to most businesses that we work with, right? When we work in a world where there's actual businesses producing services or products or value. I'm
But
not
you know
talking
what's
about
so deep?
Instagram influencer,
What's so deep for me? So one of my favorite books is Tribes,
Yep.
which breaks it down. You need 1,000 raving fans.
Yeah.
You
Right.
don't need millions of views on your YouTube. You don't need millions of people watching your podcast. You need
No.
1,000 raving fans.
Yep. I was listening to the founder of Airbnb say how
Yeah,
he actually got his growth going, and he ignored the 900 fans and said, "I'd rather have 100 people who love us than 1,000 people who like us." And I think you're
deep.
experiencing that at our Visions Roundtable. Like, I don't care about, I just care about these 100 people that will
Yeah,
fall in love with the
exactly.
thing, right? Okay, so
Exactly.
we've established how cool we are. Let's talk about our friends and clients out there and what they can actually do to grow their business. Not using some of these principles, but some of the things you want to talk about in the three ways. So, give us a story about a company or a person you work with that would reflect one of these three ways to grow your business?
And was a client. Let me tell you about this gentleman because he was pretty amazing. He was in the food safety industry, which, if you think about already, is so niche, like that particular niche. He was in that industry for 25 years. He built relationships not just with his company, but with his vendors, with employees of his vendors, and like brilliant, like just knew his space. Like
Yeah.
he already had a reputation
Mm-hmm.
as thought leader in that space. So he decided to quit and start his own company, doing food safety consulting, which, by the way, that would be like for restaurants or for corporate lunchrooms. Like it's literally all about like
Yeah.
inspections,
Makes
and
sense.
they all have to do it. So he quit and he started his own business, which is how I met him. He wanted a business plan and he wanted to talk strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And we got through the business plan. I was like, this makes sense. And then he was like, what about the marketing? I was like, you have 25 years experience in this industry. What do you mean? What about the marketing? So it turned out I mean, it was very simple. I was like, I need you to just call one of your
Mm-hmm.
people from who you used to work with. Just make the call.
Yeah.
Doug, let me tell you something. He made one call
Mm-hmm.
and got $100,000 contract to start his business. Like,
Yeah.
so I say all that to say, I think the first thing is making the call to get a referral.
Yeah.
That was like he called me. He was so excited. He was like, oh my God, I got a contract. I said, of course you did. You have 25 years of contacts
Yeah.
in that industry.
We've got some questions from the audience today, and one of them is my operations manager because we had this exact conversation about our business just last week. So I'm going to ask her two questions. In terms of structure for sales calls, do you keep them in like conversational, or is there a script and structure for it? One more time. I'm sorry, you cut out.
Vegetarian.
Yeah.
I don't do scripts.
Yep.
I keep it personal. I keep it
Mm-hmm.
conversational. I think this is really important. You have to be very detached from the outcome.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Just be detached. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if they become a client, great. If they end up being a friend, great.
Mm-hmm.
If like, you can't be tied to the outcome, and that's why I think the phone is
Yeah.
scary for people. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't make sales calls. I make connections.
Wow. But,
I call them chill and chat.
did Sherry tell you how we met?
No.
Okay. Well, this is I took this out of Tammy's playbook, folks, but I met Sherry Wynn on a LinkedIn connection, and we chatted about what we do, which is ghostwriting, publishing books for people. We chatted for maybe 20 minutes, and at the end of the call, we're like, you know what? We both said, you don't need me. You already did one book on your own. Do another one of those. So I'm gonna say, this is a great to meet you, but we don't need to do any business together. So take it easy. But after the call was over, she mentioned something. I sent her a PDF on something that would help her out with getting her next book out there. 2 years later, she gives me a referral for like $36,000 contract. From that came three more connections, another referral. In the month of October last year, we did six figures, all in referrals, all from people who are not my client. Just
Mhm.
connections, people that I knew, chatted with, no expectations of an outcome. That's the
Yeah.
seven habits, man. It works. Yeah.
That's it does work. And I think that's what people struggle with. Like, they're
Yeah.
so tied to, like, this has to become something.
Mm-hmm.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't,
Yeah.
because it might not sprout right now. It might sprout in a month or a
Right.
year or two
Yeah.
years. Like,
Yeah.
who knows?
And sometimes those seedlings aren't direct, right? It's like, hey, it could be come from somewhere else. It could come from a connection. We uh, have built connections with people who are being offered pretty high level board seats, a place in the government. So the connections don't are not always monetary. It could be something way
Yeah,
beyond that.
exactly.
There's other
Hey, so
currencies other
you
than money.
mentioned You mentioned something that I want to go back to. You said
Yeah.
you sent her a PDF.
Hmm.
So that was one of my ways of creating growth right now
Yeah.
is position yourself as a thought leader
Hmm.
through content marketing.
Yeah.
That's when the connections start happening. So
Hmm.
whether it's you're putting out like a white paper or an infographic that breaks down a really complicated process,
Right.
um, blog posts, there are checklists,
Hmm.
templates, like there's a bunch of things that people can do right now
Hmm.
to position themselves as a leader
Yep.
and then get people calling them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I saw your infographic. Like,
Hmm.
uh, can we talk?
Yeah. How do you get those that and you're let's just back up 1 second. People who've got with any amount of experience do have um, things they've experienced and lessons they've learned and ideas stuff that they could publish pretty easily nowadays using some AI help. They can crank out some pretty stuff pretty quickly. And the proliferation of content is one of the things I'm like, ooh, geez, that's it's getting worse and worse out there. How do you get that infographic seen by your ideal person?
Let's begin at the beginning with
Yeah,
content. It
yeah,
starts with high quality value add.
right,
Like, you can't find this anyplace else
yeah,
except for like from Doug.
uh,
That's the first piece. So there's a lot of content out there,
yeah,
but a lot of it is crappy.
yeah, yeah,
It's not, and it's probably generated by AI.
yeah.
So I'm talking about pulling your experience. You could
Mm-hmm.
get supported by AI, but pull
Mm-hmm.
your experience and outline the white paper or
Mm-hmm.
create the infographic.
Yep.
So, how do you market it? There's a couple of things that we sort of overlook. So, obviously, like I would post on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I would call people that I know and trust and respect
Uh-huh.
and say, hey, can you guys put this out into the universe?
Yes.
I'm not running Facebook ads. I'm working my network.
Yep.
Like, I know, Doug, you know a million people. Like, if I send you an infographic and say, hey, if you find this valuable, would you
Mm-hmm.
mind sharing it with your people?
Yeah.
And Doug will say, no problem. This is really good.
Yep.
And I can't find it anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it starts with the quality.
Yep.
And then listen, we keep talking about the same thing. It goes back to your network, it goes back
Yeah.
to your relationships.
Right. And
I think that's the most efficient way to do
yep.
it.
And the one little icing I'll put on that cake is that if you do a white paper about a topic and make it good, I mean AI can help with that, but you gotta you said infuse your own ideas, thoughts, experiences, even personality into that. One little extra piece they can do that is you've got a top 10 list of companies you want to penetrate, include them in the white paper, hello, right?
Nice.
And tag
That
it
is
and
a
send it to
fantastic
them.
idea.
Take that spotlight off yourself, man. Put it on them and watch what happens. Or and better yet, I did this with Manya's thing. I said, don't forget to send that to their competition too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Keep it
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
No, that's fair. That's a great ad. That's
hmm,
absolutely true.
yeah. Cool. All right,
By
so
the way,
pick up the phone's a
sorry,
good
Doug.
one. Network
Let me
your own
piggyback
network.
on. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
piggyback on that.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Also, include your clients.
Hmm.
Include your clients in the white paper. They'll be like, "Whoa, this is so great.
Yeah.
Let me come. Let me get back to her." So, by the way, which leads right into my next one.
Hmm.
There's gold in them there hills. You know what the gold is?
Yeah. Go
Your
ahead.
current clients
Hmm.
are the gold. So I would set aside a day or a half a day and do nothing but contact your current clients.
Hmm.
See how they're doing. What do they need? Like, maybe you need to expand your services because they're asking for something.
Yeah.
By the way, that increases your value of your transaction.
Uh-huh.
It's a soft upsell.
Right.
Um, but yeah, your clients are the best people for marketing. They know you, they trust you, they've had positive experience with you.
Hmm.
Um, by the way, one other thing worth mentioning is customer experience or client experience is
Yeah.
paramount.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. That's a good one. Do you have a story about that? Where somebody had like a crappy experience and you were able to say, hey, if you just do this one little thing, you can make it better. And
You know what? I did have a client that had a bad experience
hmm,
with me. And it was very simple. They said, you said you were going to call me on Tuesday
Yeah.
and you never called.
Hmm.
They were very upset. But what I learned from you, Doug, like one of the statements that you made that I wrote down was like, it's your word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you can't trust somebody that doesn't do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So we actually had a great conversation. Like, I
Hmm.
called, we talked
Yep.
it out. I was like, you've shifted my attitude. You've shifted
Hmm.
my priorities. Like, my priority is
Yep.
doing what I say I'm going to do.
Hmm. Yep. Same thing happened to me with a client a few years ago. I was trying to quote unquote scale, right? So I was like trying to offload customer journey experience to some other things and automated processes. I got a very similar comment one day. Doug, I feel like I'm a side job, a side hustle for you. It's not full time. And like you, I
Yeah,
didn't get emotional about it. I'm like, huh, my customer feels that way. I can't ignore it or defend it. I must listen to it and adapt to it and go, yep, you're right.
if
And then I
your
was,
listen, if your customer says blank, it is
yeah,
so.
that's right, that's right. And I was talking to another friend of mine 2 years ago about this thing, and we talked about the words growth and scale, right? And again, go back to the people out there just blabbering. I'm like, you're really not scaling till you're like at 3 million or so. I've got one guy who's doing a $20 million SaaS operation. He's all about founder led sales. I'm like, what? Because yeah. So until you're at a certain point where you have to outsource or hire out, you keep grinding away and make sure that you are in touch with your clients. Because I made this big
Absolutely.
mistake. I was trying to like put other people on my team to do the client journey while I was focusing on, acquiring new
Yeah,
clients. No, because what you just said is important. The customer journey, um, if you're not part of that as a founder and you're doing, in the seven figures or less, then you're missing the
doing it,
boat. You're not big enough, you
totally
know,
missing the boat.
you're
And
not
by the way,
yeah.
those same people that you should be in touch with on a
Yeah.
regular, by the way, regular basis, whether that means, hey, I'm going to check in with them every couple of weeks or
Yeah.
once a month, or I don't mean by email, by
Hmm.
the way.
Yeah.
I mean picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Um, those are the same people that might refer your next client.
That's that's the gold right there, right?
That's the gold, and it
Yeah.
costs nothing but a little bit of time.
And we mentioned before the call about asking for referrals. You haven't mentioned that yet. You're talking about giving, sharing, giving them attention.
Yeah.
Um, and then in my case, what we do is, yeah, we do more of that, and we can always do more of it. But sometimes you don't mind asking for referrals too. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think after picking up the phone, it's like about courage. But
Yeah.
Doug, if you were my current client or a past client, by the way, like maybe
Yep.
we worked together like years ago,
Yeah.
to pick up the phone, first of all, I might again send an email. Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
can you chat this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah.
So Doug says yes, I can chat. I jump on with him. We catch up about personal business. And then I say, Doug, listen, I'm looking for a couple of clients.
Hmm.
Do you know anybody? By the way, let's be really specific. Do you
Yeah.
know anybody who has a business where they maybe have an internal marketing
Yeah.
department? Maybe they don't. They're doing
Yeah.
about like, I don't know, $5 million a
Yeah.
year.
Hmm.
These are the industries. I'm interested in healthcare. I'm
Right.
interested in
Yeah.
finance. Like, the more specific you can be about who you're looking for, the
Yes.
easier it is for Doug to be like, oh yeah, call my friend Bob.
You need context, right? And that's why I was taught years ago, never say do you know? That's a binary question. You gotta say who do you know? So your
Yes.
point is so important. If you don't give them context and a little bit of an open-ended question, but not binary, not do you know anybody? And they'll say no.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, who do you know who blank?
Yep,
Who do you
perfect.
know who has marketing pain?
Right.
Who do you know who has flat sales?
Hmm.
Who do you know who is like stalled?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Great. So let's cover these three things and wrap it up with how they can get a hold of you, Tammy. Three ways to grow your business.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
three ways. This is what we covered. We
Yeah.
talked about gold in your current client list.
Right.
They're sitting right under your nose
Yeah.
for the taking, and you're ignoring them. So that's the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece is customer asks.
Mm-hmm.
Those same people, yes, you should circle back with them, but who do they know who? They've already experienced you. They trust you. You've gotten delivered good results. Like who do they know who?
Yeah.
So that's the second piece. And the last piece I think is ongoing. You really need
Yeah.
to focus on content marketing, establishing your
Mm-hmm.
leadership, putting out blogs, putting out infographics, white paper. There's hundreds of
Yeah.
pieces of content
Right.
that you can use to rein them in.
That's right.
Rein them in.
Love it. This is wonderful conversation. So if somebody want to get a hold of you and talk to you and whatnot, how they do that?
I'm all over social, so you can certainly Google Tami Tami Gaines, and you'll find me.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to my website,
Mm-hmm.
which is thesagestrategist.com.
TheSageStrategist.com. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrific. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Ta-da. Okay, stay on there here, Matt, while the thing uploads. Good job. Wonderful, wonderful.